All right. Hello, everyone. I'd like to first thank Bruce and Austin for the opportunity to present here. My name is Ben Zelikovitz, and I'm one of the founders of GetQuorum. And we're here today for my portion of the presentation to talk about virtual annual meetings and electronic voting and how that can be used within your communities to drive some efficiencies. I'm often asked, and I won't get into the nitty-gritty details, how the heck did you get into this line of business, Ben? And the short story is, in 2015, I was just a regular condo owner, and I became unfortunately involved in a plumbing dispute, which spilled over into a lawsuit and then a proxy fight. And 4 or 5 months later, I found myself elected to the board of directors for my condominium, where I spent 4 or 5 years managing my condominium, and that's where the idea for the GetQuorum platform was created. So what exactly is it that we do? We do a few things, and we're pretty focused on voting and owner meetings. So we do those. We like to think we do those things pretty well. So advanced electronic balloting, virtual annual meetings, inclusive of real-time voting. We do opt-in and voting certificate gathering. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Electronic meeting notice distribution. And then last month, GetQuorum was accepted as a certified Zoom ISV partner, which means we have a direct integration with Zoom, and we're the only platform of its kind to have a direct integration and formal partnership with Zoom. So we were quite excited about that. So let's kind of set the table for what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about two different types of votes. The first is an advanced electronic vote. What the heck is that? It's a vote cast directly by an owner or member of your community in advance of the meeting using electronic means. So maybe on your phone, your tablet, your PC, anything that's an internet-enabled device, an advanced electronic vote, you're able to vote on matters pressing at your upcoming meeting. By comparison, a real-time vote is a vote that is cast typically during a meeting, and during the meeting, it is actually done in the middle of a voting period. So the advanced vote is done by the members before the meeting, whereas a real-time vote is done during the meeting. Diving a little bit deeper specifically into the advanced portion of the meeting, why might you want to consider this for your community? And there are a few reasons. First of all, if you've got low turnout, using advanced voting is an easy way to ensure that quorum is reached so that your meeting is valid. So no more canvassing by your property managers, or maybe as board members, you have to do canvassing. That would be awful, but I've certainly heard of stories like that. You'll see increased participation from your members. If you've got snowbirds, if you've got people from other areas of the world that might want to vote and participate, it's going to be easy for them to do so. You can reduce printing and mailing costs. Oftentimes, communities have a lot of expenses in the printing and mailing area. So moving and migrating your owners over to receiving governance and legal notices electronically can help reduce overall costs for the community. It is safe and secure. We have all sorts of proprietary security built into the platform to ensure that the integrity of your vote is always guaranteed. And then lastly, of course, in a sort of post-pandemic world, using advanced electronic voting aids in reducing in-person attendance. Less people might show up to your meeting because they've had an opportunity to participate electronically. And this, generally speaking, is considered a good thing. More specifically to the state of Arizona, I thought we'd talk about some of the details as to how it would work. So first of all, if you're going to do advanced balloting, the ballots are only good for one meeting. The only meeting that the one meeting that you're voting on, the ballot cannot be used for subsequent issues. So if you don't pass the matter at that meeting, the members of your community will have to resubmit a vote at the next meeting if you haven't hit your threshold. On the actual electronic ballots, you must be able to vote on all matters of business or all proposed actions. You have to have an opportunity to vote for or against or abstain on those matters. The ballot must inform the owners as to when the ballot needs to be sent back prior to the meeting. And of course, name, email, and signature, an electronic signature must be applied to the ballot, except in the case where there's a secret ballot where this information is anonymized and stored by GetQuorum to ensure confidentiality. Other things that are of note in the state of Arizona is you cannot authorize another person to vote on behalf of yourself. So you can't use a proxy electronically. All the votes are voted directly. So you can't give the board president your electronic vote. You have to cast that vote yourself. The COA must retain all of the ballots for a year. Any voting platform like GetQuorum, for example, will hold a ballot for a year. That's like table stakes. So that's easy for you. And the applicable statute is listed there for you if you have any ongoing questions. Obviously, your legal counsel is a great next place to go. GetQuorum obviously is, we've got some answers to questions if you may have them as well, specific to your community. So that's advanced voting, and this gives all your owners the opportunity to vote before a meeting. Now, what actually happens at a meeting? Maybe you don't feel comfortable having a giant group of people in a small confined space right now, totally understandable. So what exactly is a virtual meeting? And there are a couple different options. So first of all, a virtual meeting takes place usually on the internet. Of course, it could be a telephone conference, but usually it's an online conference or a webinar, much like this one. And the delineation between a broadcasted board meeting and a virtual owner meeting really is the amount of participation that is possible for an owner or a member of your community. At a virtual meeting, the owner or the member can participate in motions, in voting, and Q&A periods. It's not just listening along or passive participation. And there are two types of virtual meetings that we're seeing commonly these days. Most common these days is the virtual only, where it is held exclusively online. So everybody's at home. Nobody's in the party room or wherever you might have your meeting. As well, we're in some areas where case counts are a little bit lower. We're seeing hybrid meetings where there is a virtual meeting that is held in conjunction with an in-person meeting. And so those are the two types of virtual meetings that we're seeing these days. Some things to consider if you're going to try having a virtual meeting is that you have to adopt your meeting procedures to fit within virtual. This is a new world. The way that you used to do things, a lot of it is the same, but you have to have an open mind to how things will be done online. Of course, if it's your first virtual meeting, you want to get out ahead of it and give your opportunity or give your owner and community the opportunity to practice voting, user guides, and just communicate with them early. Dress rehearsals for the panelists so everyone's on the same page when the meeting starts as to how things are going to work. Have a good plan for managing the question and answer period. Have a good plan for voting governance. A lot of people, when they do their virtual owner meetings, they'll just use Zoom. And I honestly don't know how you integrate advanced proxy voting with electronic voting that happens during the meeting in a seamless and quick and efficient way. If you can do it manually, all the power to you. If not, there are platforms like GetQuorum that can help. And then lastly, you don't want to have, or you want to designate an individual that is responsible for moderating, kind of like Austin's doing today. So you wouldn't want that to be your property manager or even your chairperson. Usually it's another member of the staff or perhaps a representative of a voting platform. So just a minute or two left. I'll take you through some case studies before we hand it off here. So first, my favorite Floridians. These guys are in South Beach, Miami. We're looking at their pool deck, and they needed over 50% of their owners to vote in favor of overhauling their pool deck, which was 30 plus years old, using GetQuorum as electronic voting platform. They passed their material alterations before the meeting. So they had excellent participation, and they're really happy, and they've got a beautiful new pool deck. A little bit further up the east coast of Florida, we've got Saturnia HOA. Of a possible 396 units, 317 participated in voting certificates. 219 of them submitted votes, and they attained quorum on just electronic votes before the meeting. So no more canvassing or anything like that. These guys are super happy as well. And the last case study I'll cover for you is in my hometown, Toronto. So this is east side of Toronto, and this condo had a unused superintendent suite. I'm not sure if it's commonplace, but nobody really has supers that live in their suites anymore. So this is a premium suite, totally empty, liability on the balance sheet for the condo corporation. So what they needed to do was get approval of over 80% of the owners to repurpose this suite into a rental suite, throw it on Airbnb, and now all of a sudden they've got an asset, generate revenue for them. And they were quite happy and able to achieve their threshold using electronic voting. So that is it for my portion of the presentation. Austin.